For someone who's only been on the scene since around 2015, Bryce Hall has been a part of enough drama for a lifetime. You may have heard of Bryce from his tumultuous relationship with TikTok superstar Addison Rae, or from his stint as the creator of the Sway House in LA. But it's more likely you've heard Bryce's name associated with a lawsuit, scandal, arrest, or just general controversy. And while they say all press is good press, it looks like Bryce Hall's wild ways are beginning to affect his much-coveted career as an influencer. So what is causing the destructive downfall of Bryce Hall? Let's get into it. Trouble certainly seems to follow Bryce wherever he goes. From numerous allegations of cheating to fights with his best friends, it seems like Bryce can't stay on good terms with anyone these days. Bryce started his career at 15 with Musical.ly and YouTube, and like many creators, moved to the platform TikTok, where he quickly gained traction for both good and bad. Bryce began as a fresh-faced influencer, but once his career began taking off, he turned into something of a magnet for drama and controversy. By age 21, Bryce found himself facing jail time for throwing a party in the middle of the coronavirus pandemic. Most of his viewers understand that this is just classic Bryce. After all, the hard-partying TikTok star was banned from Playlist Live for peeing off a balcony. With more than 20 million followers on TikTok and over 8 million followers on Instagram, his audience was quick to forgive Bryce's wild antics. But even Bryce's biggest fans have been getting fed up with his recent escapades, and so have his sponsors. Plus, influencers these days have it hard. With feuds and scandals around every turn, it seems like the only people they can trust are people they work with, like their manager. But in Bryce's case, even this wasn't a safe bet. Bryce's former manager Michael Weist is actually suing both Bryce Hall and his friend, influencer Mikey Barone. So what did they do that was so bad it caused Michael to take legal action against them? Well, it all started when Bryce's Twitter account was hacked. You may think this is something that happens all the time to influencers, and they probably remain pretty calm, knowing there are measures in place to get their accounts back. Well, Bryce must not have gotten the memo, because he took to a second Twitter account to immediately accuse his manager at the time, Michael Weist, of hacking his account. Why would Michael hack his own client's Twitter? Rather than explain this accusation, Bryce went on to accuse Michael of touching his clients inappropriately. Bryce's best friend Mikey Barone joined in on these accusations of sexual harassment against the 21-year-old manager. Later, fans noticed that both Bryce and Mikey were removed from Michael's Good Times Live website. Bryce insists that he is telling the truth, but that the claim of sexual harassment he made was not about him, but about someone else. However, it seems to be one of many cases where Bryce betrays someone else and then paints himself as the victim of the story. Even at his own influencer's house, Sway House, Bryce was supposedly betrayed. In an interview, Bryce rehashed the shocking reason behind his decision to leave Sway House, saying the group had thrown a party and someone in the house had stole almost $20,000 from him. But is that all there is to the story? Later, Bryce elaborated on his motivation for leaving, saying that while he was planning on moving houses with the Sway crew, the whole time while he was house hunting, Blake and Noah were actually house hunting without him and making plans behind his back to move out on their own. So it wasn't really Bryce's decision to leave after all. While Bryce has been hinting at a Sway House reunion to come soon, Blake and Noah have been silent. This was only one of Bryce's many controversies with the closest to him. Fighting in the street. Bryce is one of the many social media influencers who turned against Taylor Holder after mysterious allegations had been made against him. A number of stars simultaneously unfollowed the former Sway House resident. Bryce went so far as to say that he would never even fight him publicly because Taylor doesn't deserve the clout or money that would come with a public fight, instead saying he would take it to the streets. Taylor suspiciously sent cease and desist letters to multiple influencers who he thought might bring up these accusations, some of whom were his closest friends, including Bryce. It looks like they weren't really fazed by the threat because, reportedly, a number of these friends are trying to sell their cease and desist letters to paparazzi for up to $500. Bryce posted a cryptic message to his Instagram, just saying things are about to get crazy. So it looks like the drama with Taylor isn't over yet. And this certainly wouldn't be the first time Bryce has fought one of his former friends. Bryce brutally beat up his close friend Zach Clayton. Zach declined at first to reveal the identity of his assaulter, or the full details of the situation. Maybe Zach didn't want to stir up trouble, or maybe he knew if he brought Bryce's name up online, Bryce wouldn't be too happy about it. But it turns out Zach didn't need to call Bryce out, because his close friend YouTuber Tanner Mojo was more than happy to do it for him. Tanner sided with Zach and took to social media to say directly, "Bryce cheated on 2 girls I know in the past month. Zach knew, so that's why he assaulted him. Lol, bye."
I thought this was like one of your best friends. And he's like, we were at our friend's house and I was standing in the bathroom with this like girl that he'd hooked up with. He had cheated on her the night before and like I knew that, and he came like charging in the room, beat the fuck out of me, pushed me into a bathtub and just started hitting me over and over and over again like 30 times.
She went on to say that she has way more dirt than this on Bryce Hall, but that everyone knows he's already a psychopath, so she doesn't need to say anything else. Zach later came out and said that he didn't even fight back when Bryce began hitting him because he would never fight a close friend over a female. He just held his arms over his face while Bryce continued to beat him, resulting in serious bruises and a busted lip. As fans found out what really happened in this unfair fight, Bryce decided to tell his side of the story. Only in Bryce's version of things, it's pretty much the same as both Tanner and Zach said. But the one difference is that Bryce insists Zach was also at fault, although he can't explain why, and says they agreed to keep the fight off social media. This version of the story doesn't exactly add up, because Bryce admits he was in the wrong by repeatedly punching his friend, who wasn't fighting back. But as we can see, Bryce has a habit of deflecting the blame from himself. And Bryce has been involved in so many random street fights that there are entire internet threads devoted to them. Bryce fights his friends, enemies, and even strangers in some cases. One fight that broke out at a Los Angeles restaurant was because Bryce and his friends refused to quit vaping inside and blew smoke in a restaurant staffer's face. To be fair, Bryce Hall seems to have beef with a lot of people, but Austin McBroom is one person who may actually deserve it. It all started when Austin and Bryce decided to put on a YouTube versus TikTokers boxing match. Even while promoting their event at Hollywood store Fred Segal, Austin and Bryce broke out in a fight. Austin had been challenging Bryce to a fight for a while, and Bryce seemed reluctant to participate, with Austin finally calling him out for running away. Bryce said that he would fight Austin, but that he just wouldn't do it for the same amount Austin would. Well, to viewers, it sounded like Bryce might be just a little bit scared of losing, and Austin called his bluff by publicly announcing that he was happy to take less money if it meant that Bryce would agree to fight, saying he just didn't like the kid. Austin finally agreed to pay Bryce a cool $5 million for the fight, just so he could get him to do it. So, how did the fight turn out in the end? Well, Bryce's critics were happy to see that Austin won the fight, but to add insult to injury, Bryce went on Adin Ross's Twitch stream to claim that Austin never paid him the $5 million he owes him.
Are you allowed to say how much you're supposed to get for the fight?
Yeah, like $5 million.
I was scammed for my
Like?
life savings.
$5 million.
You don't bad up.
USD.
Hold on, oh, stop.
Shut it. You let them play you like that, they would have got my motherfucking money in this
Fuck,
bitch
they
on
still-
grave.
It's okay, I'll kill him.
Considering Bryce and Austin had beef before, there's most definitely no love lost between the pair now. When Adin asked Bryce what he plans to do about the missing fee, Bryce said, "I'll kill him," quickly following it up with a joke about GTA Online, although he sounded like maybe he wasn't actually joking. Since then, Bryce has claimed that he is taking legal action against Austin for the missing compensation, but it looks like there's a long line, since a number of other influencers have claims against Austin as well. So what's next for Bryce Hall? Will he turn his bad boy ways around, or will he give up his career to the next influencer waiting in the wings? Only time will tell, but one thing is for sure, there are a million guys waiting to take his spot. Let us know what you think about Bryce in the comments below.